everybody, and welcome. My name is Wyatt Oren. I'm from Agora, where we're helping developers embed voice, video chat, and real-time engagement into their applications. Really excited to have you here today. We have an exciting topic for you guys on emerging technology with regards to education. Today we are joined by 3 CEOs who are carving out new spaces, new ways to help students learn through engagement. We're joined by Aaron. Aaron, please feel free to introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, my name is Aaron Wisnieski. I'm a co-founder and CEO of OVR Technology. At OVR Technology, we use the power of smell to increase the value, efficacy, engagement, and emotion in immersive virtual experiences.
Great. Thanks, Aaron. Brooks.
Yeah, I'm Brooks. I'm with InfinidLearning. And we've been creating spaceships, shrink rays, and time machines for kids to help them apply classroom curriculum in a experiential learning moment. And that's been a lot of fun.
Cool. Glad to hear from you, Brooks. JJ.
Hello everyone, JJ here, founder and CEO of TalkMeUp. We are an AI-based software company focused on professional communication training. And for students, they're typically using our platform to practice job interviews. And happy to tell you more.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds great. I think it's a really exciting time to be a student. I think with so many technologies coming out to help students with X, Y, and Z, like now is probably a better time than ever to be a student, especially post-pandemic. You know, Brooks, I'd like to start with you, man. As the head lunch lady of InfinidLearning, I'm curious, what are you cooking up nowadays?
Hey, that's a good intro right there. I'm gonna have to write that down. Yes, I am the head lunch lady, and you know, we're always cooking up something that's pretty revolutionary and trying to push the boundaries of education while balancing, and this is something I think we've all faced in this area of things. You want to be really innovative, you want to push the boundaries, you want to do something that's really progressive for the industry, but at the same time you have to balance that with where the industry's at and where the majority of the teachers know what to do. And we can't be a burden to the system or to the teachers, or else we're not reaching our objective, which is impacting students. And so for us, now we have unlock the future as one of our big pillars that drive what we do. And that's not just unlocking the future of what education could be, but it's also unlocking the future for the students, that they believe in themselves and understand that there's much more to learning and education than just a bubble sheet. The adjacent pillar to that is think outside the bubble sheet for us. So hence, you know, why my title is the head lunch lady. You know, my other co-founders have titles like chief hand raiser and hall pass monitor, because you know what, we can think outside the bubble sheet and do things differently. And balancing that with, you know, revolutionizing industry as well as kind of meeting them where they're at and try to find a happy medium. And so we're doing a ton to make that happen in lots of different areas, and trying to kind of be really forward thinkers in this whole experiential learning application world that education's kind of new to.
Cool. Thanks for that, man. You know, Aaron, when I first heard of your company, OVR Technologies, I thought I was honestly awestricken. I thought it was incredible that somebody could smell something in virtual reality. To me, it seemed like the ability to smell is only something that you can experience in reality 1.0. I didn't know it was something you could actually replicate. So, you know, for myself and for everybody out there, I think we love to hear about what you're doing and how you're able to make that work.
Excellent. Yeah, so we have engineered a way to experience smell in reality 2.0. And I think our sense of smell often is misunderstood or undervalued in a lot of ways, but it has this profound effect on our cognition, our behavior, our mood, our emotions, our memories. And because of the way it works in the brain subconsciously, we don't notice it a lot, but with every single breath you take, it's working and it's dramatically affecting all parts of your life. So we figured out a way to port that over into the virtual world. And although like XR, VR, AR are still sort of new, in their adoption level, we see them being adopted, dramatically across all industries and all use cases. And so as more and more of our experiences become virtual and digital, we're looking for ways to make those virtual experiences more meaningful, more engaging, more valuable, and as close as we can to authentic 1.0 experiences. And so our technology platform interfaces with virtual reality and understands user behavior in the virtual world and is able to reproduce hyper-realistically the smell of the real world. So it's both spatial and positional as you get further away from things and closer to things. And you can smell multiple things at one time or distinct of one another. And so we're using this platform, in a number of different use cases, but our focus is really on where we can have the biggest impact. So that's healthcare, that's education, and that's training and simulation. So we're, really focused on a platform that we call Inhale, which is about meditation, mindfulness, breath work, and using the olfactory technology to enhance that and make people in the classroom and out of the classroom more relaxed, more engaged, and more focused.
Awesome, man. Yeah, it almost seems like you're gamifying relaxation in a way. How does a student benefit from this OVR technology?
Yeah, and I would actually, push back on gamifying because it's something that we try to stay away from a lot of the time. Not all the time, but de-gamifying the virtual world and using it for skills acquisition kind of on its own is what we hope to do. So our platform, Inhale, is a relaxation platform, and that helps students with separation anxiety, transition anxiety, a lot of these things that are barriers to learning and barriers to skills acquisition. Like a meditation and mindfulness platform that kids actually enjoy and actually engage with and use again and can take meaningful mindfulness skills away from that is where we have the biggest impact in education right now. And we look to the future and see a number of different applications that we're really excited about because VR in itself democratizes experience. And that is a thing that's incredible that has never been able to happen before. So really in support of the democratization of experience and experiential learning.
I can totally agree with that. I think as a student from one place in the world, being able to smell the scents from another area that they may not be able to visit or have the benefit of being able to afford to go to, I think that's tremendous. I think that's going to open a lot of doors.
We hope so. And there's a lot of evidence that says so.
All right. Well, JJ, want to bring you into the fold here. How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good, doing well. I think it's really cool what you guys are doing over at TalkMeUp as like a communication coach that can help students develop their skills and develop ways to communicate with people in an effective manner. Can you share with us what you're excited about and what you guys are up to?
Yes. So right now we focus on B2B. So we're offering our SaaS solutions for our enterprise customers mostly and educational organizations for sure. We're also excited to offer our AI capacity through the form of APIs for other learning partners or educational partners. I understand, in this market, we have tens of thousands of providers out there, whether it's, traditional training providers or a learning management system, software providers. They have great tools already. They have great, training content, training solution already. In our case, we offer our AI capacity for them to better scale up their business and also offer them an insight into their users' progress in a measurable, quantifiable way. So this is what we're offering. Yeah. Cool. So, yeah.
Awesome. So like for a student, for example, how can a student use TalkMeUp for a career readiness training?
For sure. As an individual student, they can come to our site, sign up, log in. We have over 40 courses. Each course would represent a typical behavioral question. For instance, tell me about yourself, walk me through your resume. We have bite-sized learning modules to teach them what these questions mean and what kind of methodology they need to adopt to develop their own, content or answers, and in what way they should deliver their message to impress their audience. So in this case, their job interviewers.
Mm-hmm.
And then the core of our technology is the video-based analyzer. The user experience is pretty similar to what we're having the Zoom conference right now. They just simply speak to the camera anywhere, anytime, practicing. No pressure because nobody's going to judge their performance. As they're practicing, we're analyzing their performance, both their delivery and content on the backend simultaneously. So after they finish recording, 1 or 2 seconds later, we give them a very detailed AI report and give analysis on their, a set of metrics on their delivery and content. And the methodology is actually not what we created, but it is something that the industry has been using for decades and proven successful. So we basically use the same methodology to analyze everybody's communication skills, but delivering that using AI, so fully automatic and quantifiable.
Cool. And I think that's really cool because similar to Aaron, it seems like you're essentially democratizing career readiness and career coaching and ways for people that may not have access to those types of resources. You're giving them a way where they can actually learn through practice and have an AI type coach available to help them improve and get better, which is really important for a lot of people out there, a lot of students, and I'm sure people in companies as well.
Yeah, young professionals. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think I know a few adults who can actually benefit from that. So I'll be sure to introduce you. Great. Well, let's turn it back over to Brooks. Brooks, man, how you doing?
I'm good. I've just been enjoying hearing all this awesome, good stuff we're talking about.
Good, man. Me too. In your opinion, with VR, what role do you think engagement plays in the learning process?
Yeah. Wow. It's everything. And, to clarify, like you prefaced with the VR, we aren't necessarily VR. Part of our solution as we grow and expand the application of what we do will be VR. But to us, it's really, at the root of it, it's about getting kids to care and to engage, right? Whether it's, no matter what you're teaching, no matter what subject you're covering, if the student cares and is willing to listen, then they'll want to experience it. So for example, and being a little more specific, maybe for, the attendees here, so I'm not too vague about what in the world do they do. We build spaceship shrink rays and time machines by turning the classroom into those environments. So using lights, sound, after I talk with Aaron, maybe smell. We want that room to be suddenly a new place for them. And we're going to send them out on a mission. So every student connects on their device, and it's web-based, so they connect on their device, and they put in their code, and they join a mission. And unlike a lot of technology that's isolating, we actually use technology to combat technology, if I can use that phrase. We're using the technology to enhance collaboration, teamwork, communication, and that group experience on this mission where they feel like they are the crew of a starship going to the outskirts of space, and they've been assigned a mission to figure out which planet could sustain a water cycle. And they're space pirates, there's a lot going on. If they don't pay attention to what the teacher's saying, they're probably going to die. That's the type of excitement we want, for a teacher to say, hey, I hope you're paying attention or else you're probably going to die, right? Now that suddenly gets a kid to be, instead of making glue bookmarks or something, be like, wait, what did she just say? Or what did he say? Yeah. I want to listen. I care. And that's the root of it. If you get them to care and you can hook them, then now you have this awesome teaching experience, an amazing application of not just curriculum, but also the social skills. The SEL is something we're big into. And then because that experience is so dynamic, we actually gather a ton of data in assessment and give that back to the teacher so that they get a score for the whole student, not just knowledge, but also skills and dispositions. So they're getting that curriculum, subject mastery, social and emotional assessment, and scores that allow them to kind of progress with those students throughout the school year in an engaging way.
So let me get this straight.
I elaborated on your question.
Oh no, please do. I welcome that. So let me get this straight. As a student, you're saying I could go with all my other students and classmates into a simulation where I'm on a spaceship, for example, and I can then take a trip to Mars and I can learn about Mars. Is that something like what you're talking about?
That's right. Yeah.
Awesome.
Full group experience and simulation to apply knowledge.
It's funny to think about that, like as a former student, right? And think, wow, what could I have fallen in love with that would have maybe go from where I am today to a whole different career path? Like, what topic would have made me maybe should change my life? It's cool to think about. It'll be great to see the long-term implications of that over the course of time.
Yeah, I love it's interesting. Like, I'll tell you a super quick story about this morning. I was talking to someone and they were sitting there and they're in administration and they had their kid with them at work because it's summer. And they said, you know what, hold on, let me grab my kid. I want you to pitch this idea to my kid because he hates this subject we were talking about. It was science actually, and it was science in general. And so she brought him over, talking to him and said, hey, look at all these missions we have. We have missions that are correlated with standards in the different states. So math and science standards, and we're always adding more content. So I said, look at these missions, and what seems super boring to you based off the subject line, right? And he's like, ooh, artificial traits. I don't even know what that is, and that looks like a lot of homework. I wouldn't want to study that. I would automatically disengage from it. Said, okay, let me read you this mission. And I described to him how they have to go to this planet and they found this species that's being super aggressive. And it looks kind of like Earth's elephant, but it's a little bit different. It's an alien version of it. And it's usually docile and nice, but it's being really aggressive and mean. And they have to save this colony that's just colonized that planet from this animal by understanding and applying their knowledge of traits and why that might happen and what humans might be doing to reinforce some of those negative traits. Yeah. And so suddenly, as I described that story to him, he's like, okay, I just went from not engaged at all to I really want to do this. I really want to learn and listen. And that's just what you said. I mean, the power of, and all of us here are doing something like that, getting them to see the why and to engage with it and care about it. And then the learning and the skill acquisition all comes after that.
For sure, man. And it's really interesting you say that, because imagine asking that same student, and what if you could experience that location and smell that creature and smell that planet? And so I think there are some really interesting crossovers here.
Absolutely.
Aaron, can you maybe dig into the weeds and help us understand why scent matters?
Yes. There's a few answers to that. I'll start with the nerdy one that I really like. My background for my whole career has been scent. How does it where does it come from? What is it? How does it affect our behaviors and our psychology? So that's, kind of what my driving force is. And what's really unique about scent is that of all of our senses, it's the only one that has a direct connection to the limbic system in our brain. And our limbic system in the brain is that old kind of reptile brain. And that's where our emotions stem from, and it's where our long-term memories live. So I think all of us have that experience of walking down the street and catching a whiff of cookies or fresh cut grass or whatever, and being transported back to a memory. So one of the kind of inherent values of scent is that it's so closely related to memory and emotion. And so by incorporating it into a situation in VR, whatever the situation is, it's just a lot more engaging. There's a lot more memory going on there. The second, to answer those other two questions, is it creates more immersion and presence in these immersive experiences, but it can be used as a mechanic in itself also. And I'll give you a specific example in education. There's a lot of schools for kids who need a little bit more structure than regular public schools. And one of the things that is an issue there is kind of emotions can run wild. As kids escalate, they can disrupt the classroom, they can stop learning, it can be a handful for the teacher, it can create legal trouble. There's a lot of things. And so we know, science knows how important it is and how powerful it is to just breathe. But if you've ever been told to just breathe when you're really upset, it's not going to work, right? So we have this scenario called Inhale, where you put the headset on, And you have a choice to go to any number of these nature scenes: mountaintop, a beach, a forest, a waterfall. And you take a breath totem, virtual breath totem, in with you, and a soothing voice guides you through a meditation. And what the meditation does is link the good smelling thing with breath. So it gives you something to focus on. It cuts off all of the negative sensory input that you had in the classroom, and you're breathing. And not only does that calm you down and de-escalate in the moment, you start to learn that breath work and that mindfulness behavior as a tool that you can use outside of VR. Because another thing that's really important to us is that VR and immersive technology isn't escapist. It's a place you can go, or a tool you can use to make the rest of your life better or more enriched. And so in that scenario, before a student escalates to a point where they have to go to a timeout room, or security has to get involved, or it becomes a thing, they take this piece of technology that they're already kind of like raised, their digital generation. So it's something they're drawn to, it's something they like. It immediately cuts off the negative sensory input, and then they can engage meaningfully in mindfulness and breath work. And so that's like a really powerful application where smell makes the situation more immersive. And it's also a mechanic in VR that produces the results. And our kind of unscientific way of thinking of it is, if the output is behaviors and emotions, and you want to change those behaviors and emotions, you control the inputs, and the inputs are the senses: sight, sound, smell, and to other degrees, touch. And so by having control over the inputs, you have control over the outputs.
Yeah, it almost sounds like you can rewire a brain in a way to help them feel more comfortable with something and okay with something and be open to something. So like, for example, previous to Agora, I founded an edtech platform that helped credentialed teachers connect with students. And we had this one student who was terrified of math. Like, I don't know if it was because of teachers in her past or what, but she just could not learn math. And we finally found a teacher that was, a good speaker, a good communicator, someone that understood her, and she worked with her 2-3 times a week to overcome her fear of math. It almost seems like this could play an important role in maybe helping a student who has that abject fear of a subject become more comfortable with it through scent. Is that something that you guys are working on too?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely possible. And, you used the word like part of, and I think that's important, is that any educator would tell you it's not any one thing. Right. It's a number, what are the tool set that I have that can be most effective? And one thing we hear a lot about is cognitive load, right? If someone is overstimulated emotionally or mentally, they're not going to be able to focus and retain new information. So if you're able to reduce the level of stress, reduce the cognitive load, then you're kind of like making space for these other things, like the right teacher to say the right thing and the right curriculum, or whatever it may be. So it's really about getting the student and the teacher too. This is not just for students necessarily, but to get the teacher in the right headspace, the right mood, the right state of mind, in order to have that flexible thinking and create the space for the right type of emotional and experiential learning.
Awesome. It's so cool. I'd love to test it out someday. Turning it over to JJ. JJ, I wanted to sort of learn more about TalkMeUp. I think, as I said earlier, there are so many applications for it. And I think it could tie in well with what Aaron was speaking about in a way, in that it helps a person become more comfortable. It helps a person to become better and well-versed at any given thing, whether that's speaking in front of a large audience or maybe, another application. What are some of the areas that you're focusing on? What are some of, the value propositions you're giving to people that are looking to improve?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now we focus on corporate training. So typically mid to large size companies, they're using our solution to train their sales and customer success team, the client facing positions. Okay. So the value or the benefits we're offering our customers with is, for one, scalability, because, imagine you're a sales manager. If you manage, over 100 people, there's no way for you to provide training, one-on-one training, and to make it effective. So scalability is the first one. And then a second one is cost effectiveness. So if you're adopting a traditional method to train your team with, whether it's one-on-one or group training, you can always depend on human coaches, and they will charge you hundreds to thousands of dollars per hour. This is just insane, right? Yeah. And then the third one would be the effectiveness. So we have been monitoring, how much our users are improving their communication skills. Since every time they practice, we can provide them with very personalized and quantifiable, actionable feedback. We have been observing over 16% skill improvement after only 4 times of practice. That's about like 10 minutes of practice. Yeah, it's very impressive. We also observed, long-term skill improvement among our users compared to the ones who got trained by traditional methods. Yeah. And then again, training these days, people are talking about, we need to move from knowledge transfer to knowledge application. So that's where, our value prop comes in, that we bridge the gap between the training and their actual business performance. Because, typically with our enterprise customers, they would, share with us a list of critical conversations they want to train their employees with. And then we would work with whatever information they provide us with, and then deliver custom courses. And each course would represent a type of critical conversation their employees need to master on their daily job. Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're serving a really important audience. I don't know if you've ever read the book Sapiens before, but it's a really good read. It talks about how, as humans, we evolved over the course of history, not necessarily due to our brains or to the tools that we made, but it was in our ability to communicate with one another and have conversations and communicate knowledge. And I think there's obviously a lot of people out there that can benefit from something like this. For the skills that you're helping imbue in your users, how long does it generally take for a long-term benefit to occur?
I will say a week or
a week.
2 to 4 times of practice. We have been observing, how much they're improving their communication skills, and that is assuming you practice at least 2 times a week, and that is somewhere between 8% to 40% monthly improvement individually. And then we also care about how these improved communication skills are translated into improved business outcome. So we have been monitoring our customers, business KPIs, and that is about over 30% per KPI per month. So yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I know each culture communicates in a different way, right? Like certain people communicate in one way, whereas another culture, that way of communicating might be entirely different or perceived as maybe a little offensive. Who knows? Right now, are you just serving the English language, or are you sort of moving into other cultures as well? Not just English as a culture, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. So another benefit or feature we offer our customers with is the customization ability to adapt. So from the training methodology perspective, the feedback we give our users with is all based on their target audience decision-making criteria. Meaning that if you're pitching to a technical client in the US versus if you're pitching to a kindergarten kids in China, for instance, your approach should be different to gain buy-in, right? So in that case, our system, the way we build our system allows, the scenario level customization. Currently, language-wise, we mainly focus on English. We also have APIs that support Mandarin as well. But it should take us less than 2 months to launch a new language. Yeah,
that's cool. I'd love to see the 3 of you get together for a collaboration. I don't know what it would look like, but I think it'd be really cool. Brooks, man, I want to turn it back over to you, the head lunch lady. In terms of embodying a simulation for a student and trying to encapsulate a subject that may be traditionally difficult to teach because it's not necessarily exciting. It's not, necessarily something that all students love. How have you gone about trying to make them more engaging? Like, how have you gone about teaching a subject that's traditionally seen as not very interesting?
Yeah. So, a simple short answer would just be that if you take we're a pretty cool team, and if we can take a subject, a piece of knowledge, curriculum, and then create a really dramatic, fun story around it, you're going to get kids to care. And one of the things that our program has done in trying to really create kind of a level playing field in the classroom, and an equitable learning experience, because if you're a class and your teacher says, hey, you're going on this mission, good luck, and they press start, now the teacher gets to step back and observe and watch and let the students guide their learning.
Mm-hmm.
And if the students are guiding it because, one, they care and it's exciting, and we've gamified pieces of it, so where there's high scores, there's points, they're competing against other classes within their school, other classes nationally. That's one piece of it. The other piece is that every student has a job, and so they have to do their job as well as work in small groups to complete engineering tasks. Say something breaks and they need to have JJ turn this switch, I need to have Aaron put this code in, and I have Wyatt do this. So they're learning some of those engineering STEM practices. And then you kind of go another level towards JJ's sphere, which is this practice and this application of real world skills, where I have to articulate and talk to or convince my class or a character in the mission or whatever it might be to justify my decisions. And so, trying to tie back to your question, how do we take a subject and make it really engaging? I think it's by, one, dramatizing and creating a really fun story around it that gets kids to care. And then going back to Aaron, if we can get lots of senses involved, so we use sight, sound, movement, touch, soon smell, as soon as Aaron and I figure out a way to do that. Getting those senses involved activates different parts of the brain. And so you now get them engaged at that level. And now they're having to move around and talk to each other, and they're having to do all that while interacting with curriculum, both subject like math, science, curriculum, but also collaboration, critical thinking, creativity. These, not everyone calls them curriculum, but these skills that are within the realm of teaching that are hard to maybe put into application unless you go to recess. We create that kind of equal playing field where English language learners or Title I students or really gifted learners are now all together, and they're stepping up, they're pushing, because it's student-led and it's student-driven learning around this experience. So if that maybe answers your question.
No, that does, and then some. Thank you for that, man. I'm really happy to hear what you're doing right now in education. I think it's a very powerful thing you're doing. I want to ask each of you this question here. Let's start with Aaron. Aaron, why is OVR technology a must-have for a school?
Why is OVR technology a must-have for a school? Because I don't think that we can avoid the future of technology. So I think that we have to be the architects of that future and make sure that XR, VR, AR, AI, digital experiences are built for the students, for the teachers, and produce real measurable positive outcomes. I think that, just like the internet, for example, right? Like how it works is a result of how it's built. And so because I feel like this is an inevitable future that I'm really excited about, maybe not everyone is, I think it's critical to engage people, whether it's in the classroom or whether it's in a hospital, engage all their senses, produce positive outcomes, and continue to engage each other socially in the, reality 2.0.
I like that. Let's pass it over to you, JJ. Why is TalkMeUp a must-have for a school?
Because 85% of your financial success depends on how well you can communicate, lead, and interact with other people. That's the research conducted over 100 years ago, still a truth today. You basically need your communicating skills for everything as a human being. Yeah. And we
Love
need
that.
to get those kids trained as soon as possible and as early as possible.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's hard because not all, you can't always rely on the parents or the school to effectively imbue those skills. And I think this platform is a really interesting way to measurably advance that skill set. So very cool. All right, Brooks, over to you, man. Why is this a must-have for a school?
Yeah, I think any parent who would run this idea past their kids would instantly have kids that are excited about going to school and engage. We've been partnered with the National Science Foundation to, continue to progress this product, and in doing that, it's been very thoroughly vetted, and their process is amazing to make sure that it's what's needed, and there's no one doing anything like this. And so the ability to engage kids, give them application of curriculum and real-world skills, and then assess all of that and give it back to the teacher so that there's actionable data throughout the school year, and assessment that they can move and progress with is, kind of a no-brainer when it's that much fun for the kids, the teachers, and the community, because it's something the kids want to talk about. They want to go home and they want to tell their parents what they learned at school, and they can't wait to go back.
Yeah.
And we need that for this generation of learners. They're desperate for these type of solutions, and I hope more and more people do it.
Agreed, man. And that's actually something that we've identified here at Agora. Due to the pandemic, obviously a lot of students were displaced, a lot of teachers, struggled to provide the same level of teacher, mentorship to the classroom, for lack of a way of putting it. For us, we kind of sat down and looked at it as well. And we're like, all right, what can we do to help? How can we make this better? And we created this whiteboard around helping students have a more engaging session. So kind of back to your point, if a student doesn't understand, or if they don't really know what's going on, if they don't have anything in it that's feels like it's personalized to them or meaningful to them, they're going to have a hard time finding value and paying attention. So creating more engaging tools, creating platforms that are easier to use and communicate the value. So really thank you all here for joining today.
It was really great to chat with all of you. Thanks, Wyatt, for putting it together. Wonderful to meet you, Brooks and JJ. And I look forward to continuing the conversation offline at some point, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we will stick around, everybody. We're going to be available if you have any questions or concerns. Feel free to message us. Thank you so much for joining this session today. We really appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your ASU GSV. Talk to you soon.
Bye.